Good morning, Scott here, known as Cantaloupe to some online, and I'm bringing another subject to you that's interesting to me. It might be of interest to you or someone you know. And before I get into it, I want to mention in some of my videos, it may seem like I'm half asleep, and honestly, I'm making a mental note most of the time just for future reference, for my own reference. And it's probably because, in those videos, I am literally half asleep. Sometimes I wake up and make a video before I'm fully awake. But as an aside, that's kind of funny, I hope. But there's an important subject I want to dive into with this video. It's a big one and big opportunity, has always been a big opportunity for people to understand it better, I think. There seems to be a great deal of frustration and conflict surrounding this idea. And if you looked at the title, you already know what it is, and that is racism. What causes it? I mean, in a nutshell, this is going to be a short video, 10-minute video maybe. I want to start by saying that there are multiple perspectives, multiple valid, legitimate perspectives on the subject. There's no one right way to look at this. It depends entirely on the meaning of the word. And like many words, it has multiple meanings. So let me start with the meanings. For one person, racism is objectively negative. It is harmful, destructive, it is discriminatory, and it has no possible good value whatsoever. And this is similar to the word pride, where it used to be regarded as an objective sin. It was never good. Now, obviously, we see that there are good and bad aspects depending on the meaning and the context, right? Well, the context, it turns out, defines the meaning every time for whatever word you're talking about, whatever meaning the speaker intends, really. So someone can use the word racism much in the same way as the word pride, where they mean literal pride in their race. It's a point of confusion, and turns out they're just different people are using different words entirely that look the same. It's spelled the same, it's pronounced the same, but there's two distinct meanings, possibly more than two. So I want to start with the manifold meanings of the word. Many times conflict and misunderstanding arises from people using the same word and thinking it should mean the same thing, but they have different meanings. They're using different meanings, and they don't understand each other because of this. And this is exactly one of those things. So I'm going to start with the first meaning, which is destructive and harmful, discriminatory, and all that stuff. So that's valid. It's valid. It's a form of prejudgment when somebody's using that meaning of the word. Prejudging someone based on their race is objectively harmful because of the prejudgment, right? You're stereotyping, and ultimately what you're doing is you're denying an opportunity, exposure to qualified people. It's patently and obviously wrong. However, there is, as mentioned, a connected idea where recognition of races has to be a thing. You have to at least be able to communicate the name of a race without being persecuted or judged as a person using hate speech, because it isn't always hate speech. To say that somebody is, to identify somebody by their characteristics in a respectful way is not hate speech. So this is another point of confusion. I think that language itself becomes the problem. But I want to dive into some of the causes of harmful racism, which is the final point. I want this to be a sprawling video, but there is a pattern of degeneracy in some people where they become hateful towards races, right? Maybe you've seen these people, maybe you are one of these people and you know it and you're proud of it. There are people who are literally proud of being the hate-filled kind of discriminatory racists that you read about in textbooks, whose grandparents probably lynched somebody, those kind of people I'm talking about. And I want to describe the mentality. There are aptitudes, natural inborn aptitudes, besides upbringing, besides education, besides experiences. There are problems known as dyslexia. There's something called, if you know what that is, you get the letters in a word ordered incorrectly, or it's difficult to recognize the proper order, that kind of thing. There's something on the same token called Boolean dyslexia. Now, if you bear with me for a second, I'll explain what that means. Boolean dyslexia, that is the misordering of logical parts of an equation or a statement. It's the the pattern of confusing correlation and causation. Maybe you've heard this one. It's going around recently. Correlation is not causation, and it gets a little bit complicated. Now, here's your problem. Some people, God bless them, have a hard time with this stuff. They have a really legitimately honest hard time with ordering of steps, of logical components, of letters even, and that's okay. They're allowed to have a hard time with that stuff, but here's the problem. When they fail to see that correlation is not causation, they begin to misidentify things as being causal when they're not, such as, for example, I hate to use this trite example, but to say that most basketball players are black would be a true statement. But to say that most blacks are basketball players is not a true statement. And this, for some reason, just doesn't compute to some people. They just can't process it. And it's the same people who struggle with the idea and end up getting accused of being racist. And after you're accused, anybody, for long enough time, you're going to get angry about it, and you're going to start defending yourself because you are required to, as a self-respecting, intelligent person, to do that. So here's what happens. They get ridiculed themselves for being racist when they can't figure out the right way to think about it necessarily, some people, and then they become hate-filled, and they stand by their decision. They say, "This is how I'm going to be." Basically, they say, "I don't want to talk about it anymore. This is who I am, and you're going to accept it, or we're going to fight about it." Basically, and so here's the problem. The problem is some people are just ill-equipped to think logically. This is what it is. It boils down to an inaptitude for processing information. They just don't have that part of the brain wired right. They're not born with it. And it is genetic. I'm sorry, not to dive into genetics, but biological structure, neurological structure, physiology is largely inherited. The structure of your brain came from your parents. Okay, this is a fact. It's a measurable, provable scientific fact. There is also environment. Yes, there's nature and nurture, both. But there's some people who will just never understand because they're not equipped to process things logically, or they suffer from something akin to bullying and dyslexia. And this is what it's all about. So maybe instead of ridiculing racists, try to understand that they think they're right, first of all. In fact, anybody who is adversarial with you, they think they're right usually. And whether they are or not, it helps to remind myself, I'll speak for myself, it helps me to remind myself that other people believe they're right, and that we may actually agree on something and one of us is confused. So it's just one way to look at it. Rather than somebody trying to be a thorn in your side, that's another way to look at it, but that's not productive. Try to understand the cause of their behavior, the actual miscommunication, the misinformation at hand, and then you can control it. You can solve the problem. You can't solve the problem without understanding it first. Okay? So racism's not mysterious. It's not mysterious. It's a combination of people having a hard time with logic. It's a combination of people being taught the wrong stuff growing up, yes, a little bit. And lastly, it's a product of people having a legitimate observation that people are different. Races are different, and they exist, and they feel like they're being persecuted just for recognizing races. Okay, I'm almost at 9 minutes. So in conclusion, the last thing I want to say is, it seems to me, in my life experiences, and this is just an observation, that the best possible configuration is together but separate. That is, like birds of a feather flock together, so to speak. Let like people sit with like people, but we're all a community. Acknowledge that we're all one community. This is the way it goes in I hate to say it, in facilities where people are forced to coexist and cohabitate. It just naturally finds this pattern, but it reflects, as a microcosm, society as a whole. Birds of a feather flock together. Let them go where they want to go. Let people hang out with people they want to hang out with. Don't force it, and you cannot mandate respect. Final point, right before 10 minutes. You cannot force or legally require people to respect each other, because it's a matter of the heart. Just like trust or love or any matter of the heart, it is not subject to negotiation. You cannot make a rule about it. It doesn't work. You can inspire people, that's about it. So reach out with questions or comments. Have a safe day, have a respectful day, and try to understand people maybe.